What you doing, Spank? What are you doing? I'd say somebody's walking on his little leg, huh? Hi. Hi, buddy. You gonna put the dishes away for me, Spank? Alright. You want treats? There you go. So, you can see his little leg. He's standing on it. Well, that's normal, him holding his foot up. He's a little light-footed. Hey guys, hope everybody's doing great. I haven't had any updates in a while. It's been a couple of weeks. I kind of took a little break the past weekend from camping. And I've had several videos that I've wanted to post, but I haven't been out and about. So anyway, just been busy with work and actually wanted to spend a weekend chilling around the house. So I had a couple of things, or a couple of updates, and I figured the best way to get the update out is really to kind of do a vlog, which I haven't really done. I've done more reviews. But I've had a lot of great questions about my Breville Creatista Plus, if you've watched any of those videos. And then especially my glamping review in the Mercedes Airstream Interstate. So two main things going on with that I kind of want to bring everybody up to date with. I was like, what in the heck? It's like a jet plane outside. So a couple of updates that I wanted to get everybody's feedback on. I live in a suburban community. Moved in my home about a year or so ago. I work in real estate, so I'm extremely familiar with real estate, homeowner associations, and everything that comes along with that. I've always been a believer of homeowner associations, but whenever I have participated in transactions with clients regarding homeowner associations, over the years there was always some kickback, especially from folks that come from not having or not being a member of a homeowner association and paying dues. They don't want to have anyone tell them what they can or cannot do on their property, which I totally get. However, most nowadays, most new home communities, at least in North Carolina where I live, have a homeowner association, and their point is basically to maintain property values throughout the community and maintain the aesthetic appeal of the neighborhood and make sure your neighbors aren't doing anything crazy. Plus, you pay your dues to maintain things such as your community entrance and the amenities you have, the legal fees, insurance on common spaces, things like that. So anyway, I bought my home about a year ago. I have a homeowner association. My homeowner association maintains our yards. We have a landscape contract, and so my monthly HOA dues pay for landscape, which is great. One of the reasons I purchased this home, didn't want to take care of the yard. Busy at work, and the yard's just not my thing. I did that growing up as a kid, and I'm not trying to do that anymore. So anyway, so the HOA, my neighborhood's about 100 homes. It's a small community, and it's mainly all active adult folks, which is great. This is the second neighborhood I've lived in, which is comprised of mainly active adult individuals, 55 and older. I tend to be one of the younger residents in the neighborhoods, which is perfectly fine with me, and honestly, by choice. There's not a lot of kids running around, or a lot of people in the streets, and so it's relatively quiet. So anyway, I talk about homeowner associations and all that good stuff because I find the irony in my purchase of the Airstream Interstate. And if you guys are familiar with the Airstream Interstate, it's a very sleek, monochromatic vehicle built on the Sprinter chassis, and it's fairly non-discrete. Granted, it's long, about 24 feet long, but again, it's fairly non-discrete. So since I purchased my Airstream Interstate, I've parked it in my driveway. I live at the end of a cul-de-sac, so as you drive down the street, you see my house straight ahead of you. So anything parked on the driveway doesn't look large or long. You just see the vehicle straight on. So I back the Airstream I back it into my driveway up against my garage, and all you see really is the front of the van itself. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know, big Mercedes van, not a big deal, right? Nobody's gonna complain. It's a big, expensive luxury vehicle. I mean, come on, it's pushing $170,000. Not that any of these folks around, I could call them a few names, but at least now I could call them a few names. Not that any of them would necessarily know, but I'm thinking it's a big Mercedes. It looks expensive. Nobody's going to complain, right? It's not a big deal in the neighborhood. So I think a month went by, and then I think I got a letter in the mail from the homeowner association management company. I'm sorry the camera's shaky. I'm once again doing this on my phone, and one day I'll get it set up. I just have not had the time. So anyway, I get a letter, and the letter is basically saying that we've been made aware of a recreational vehicle parked in your driveway, and then they cited the covenants and restrictions, talking about you can't have an RV. So anyway, they asked for me to respond to the letter and let them know about the situation and how I'm going to rectify it. So anyway, I've been going back and forth with them a couple of times, and now it's to the point that I have a hearing set with the board, the homeowner association board, made up of my neighbors in a couple of weeks. And I think what I love about all of this is that I feel like I know which of my neighbors who probably initially complained, because at the end of the day, and I'm going to walk outside and show you guys, you may or may not disagree. You may think that it's completely obtrusive and that the homeowner association is correct in that I should not be allowed to park this vehicle on my driveway. So anyway, I think it's one of my neighbors, my grumpy old neighbor, who when I moved in, immediately started complaining to the homeowner association management company and to the homeowner association president that my downspouts on my house, which was newly constructed, and his home's about 9 years old, was flooding his yard. And again, coming from the real estate industry and new construction, I'm fully aware of draining and topography and how all of that is supposed to be. So I let the management company know that everything is set up in the yard with topography and drainage the way it's supposed to be. If water stands in the yard for more than 48 hours after a heavy rainfall, then there should be concern. However, 48 hours of standing water after a torrential downpour is completely normal. Water cannot be absorbed by the ground but so quickly when the ground is saturated. So anyway, went around with the management company. The management company stepped out of it. The management president basically asked me to get a downspout diverter to divert the water away from my neighbor's house, which I had every good intention of doing, and I never did. And on top of all this, I love that my HOA president told me that my neighbor said I'm unapproachable, and they didn't feel comfortable approaching me on the topic. So that's why I was contacted by the HOA management company and the HOA president. So anyway, I've been in this house a year. I'm already called unapproachable, which I've never met my neighbor next door, and I'd love to know how he thinks I'm unapproachable when I've never met the man. I'm usually at work, and I've never met him, but I'm apparently unapproachable. And he doesn't feel comfortable coming to me, talking to me about why he thinks I'm responsible for his yard flooding. So anyway, what I love to conclude this whole little saga is that I have security cameras around my house. I'm a gadget geek. And one day, the cameras picked up the landscapers between my house and my neighbor's house. And lo and behold, exactly where the water was always standing, where my neighbor, who says I'm unapproachable, had an issue with water standing, The landscapers were digging around. Come to find out, he had a broken irrigation head, which is why when he ran his irrigation every single day, there was just a massive amount of water billowing up out of the ground because the head was broken. So now that he got that fixed, the situation is gone, but you guys keep in mind I'm still apparently a bad neighbor and I'm unapproachable. So anyway, this is why I say I feel like I know who has probably reported me, because the van is on the side of the driveway closest to his house. Now, before the van issue, the Airstream, or the water in the yard issue even came about, I got reported. Again, you guys keep in mind, at this point I think I was in my house maybe 6 months, was trying to do a few things in the front yard and bought a couple of bags of potting soil. Well, I had a bag of potting soil up by my driveway near the garage door, okay? And I left it there. It was a couple of weeks. It was a small bag of potting soil, nothing major, but a couple of weeks. Well, I got reported to the HOA. Okay, I'm all about keeping the community clean and consistent to ensure our property values in the neighborhood. But that was my first reporting to the HOA. Somebody reported, and I want to know who in my cul-de-sac is reporting me. The last neighborhood I came from was smaller than this. The group of neighborhood ladies walked the neighborhood every single night, so everybody saw what everybody was doing in their yard. And I lived in that house for 9 years and never had an issue with any of my neighbors or the HOA. So I've been in this house just over 3 years now, and I've been reported 3 times. And again, I'm not a disobedient neighbor or homeowner. I pride my property and property values just as anybody else does. But it blows my mind that I was the last home buyer to purchase the last new home in this neighborhood. And I guess all of these old farts out here have nothing else better to do than to report people, which I find ironic because, of course, we're dealing with a nearly $200,000 van in my driveway, a bag of potting soil, and me being unapproachable because my neighbor's yard is flooding, which had nothing to do with me at the end of the day. But my neighbor who complained about the flooding, you're not allowed to have signs in the window. Well, he has a sign in his front window. And it has nothing to do with what the sign is. It's an 8.5 by 11 computer printed copy of an American flag. I'm fine with that. That's great. And it says, God bless America. That's great. I have no problem with that. But it's ironic that you're not allowed to have any signs in your window, but this guy who calls me unapproachable, who I would believe fairly strongly that he may have been the one to have reported me to the HOA for the van, because why not? He's already reported me for water flooding in his yard. Is disobeying the HOA covenants restrictions, and he has a printed sign in his window. You're not supposed to do that. Then on top of all of this, right down the street from me is a home that went up for rent. I don't know why the homeowners moved, whatever, but now the home is up for rent. Well, there are 4 cars that are always parked there, and one of them is advertising a business, plastered on vinyl all over the SUV. So you've got this vehicle now advertising a business down the street. I would assume the HOA is telling them that they can't park in the street as long as they do, and they can't have a visible vehicle advertising a business. Again, I'm assuming this, and I would hope, given the stink that they've made about my drainage, my bag of potting soil, and now my nearly $200,000 van sitting in the driveway. So anyway, I was looking at the roster of homeowners and people on the HOA committee this year, and my neighbor, who I always, thought was a sweet little lady, she's over there by herself. She's the vice president of the Homeowner Association board this year. So I don't know if I'm sandwiched between 2 grumpy old farts, one on the board who sees this stuff and is nice to my face, but then reporting me behind the scenes, and then the grumpy old fart on the other side of me who never comes out of his house, who peeks at me through his window blinds, no joke. And the last time I saw him peeking through the window blinds when I was outside, I waved back to him. I mean, what is he doing? Granted, I have security cameras, but that's for my own safety and security. I'm not out here trying to report anybody, but I got all these old creeper peeping toms all around me. And if I showed you all of their houses, I don't know what it is. If they all got together and decided, we're going to take one window on the front of our house and we're going to have blinds open so that we can watch and see what's going on in the cul-de-sac. I seriously think that's what they're all doing. I think my neighborhood has a community watch just in my cul-de-sac. It's kind of crazy. So anyway, let's go outside, and I want to be respectful of my neighbors. Not like anybody knows where I live, but I at least want to show you the perspective of the van in the driveway, and would love your feedback on what you guys think. Does it look crazy? I don't know. Am I out of my mind? I guess I've been trying. Worst case scenario, I've been trying to maintain my own property, being the Airstream, parked at my home. I would totally understand if it was a big, ugly, sorry for anybody who has a big RV with swishy swirls all over it, but it's just not my thing. I think they're fantastic and I love RVs, but that's another reason why I got an incognito Airstream Interstate, to blend in a little bit better. So anyway, I'm just trying to protect my property parked on my driveway. But anyway, let's go outside. All right, so as I promised, here's a view down my street. So when I come home down the street, I see the front of the van, and that's all you see. So everybody, they keep their window open. Now my neighbor's not here today, so she doesn't have that window open. Normally that one would be open. My driveway is about 50 feet long, and the van's about 24 feet. So the side profile, you can see, it takes up half the driveway. I'll kind of walk out in the cul-de-sac. I hate doing this because I know everybody freaking watches me. Now my neighbor next door, they're always peeping, and there's their sign, which, that's not cool. Freaking fly the flag if you're gonna have the flag. So I'm gonna come out to the cul-de-sac just to turn around so you can kind of get a perspective. Oh, look, that neighbor has their blinds open because they're always peeping. So when you come down the street, that's basically what you see. You guys ignore the front yard. I gotta get some landscaping done. So hopefully it doesn't look that obtrusive. And I'm gonna kind of get in just because I know everybody's staring at me. All right, so sorry, I rushed to get outside of public view. I just felt awkward walking around because I don't know who's staring at me. And honestly, it's an awkward feeling. I've never lived in a neighborhood where I feel like a crook or a criminal. Actually, and I'll show you, I'm sitting in the van, the Airstream right now, and I'll show you my neighbor, how sometimes I can see him behind his tilted blinds. And again, I live in a neighborhood of much older people, which is fine. I love it. But now I feel like I'm surrounded by tattletales all the time. And it's kind of made me think about selling. I've got a couple of life situations coming up over the next year. So I'm trying to just hang in there to figure out what to do and not to be irrational. My family is in the area here, and and that's nice. It takes forever for me to get to work each day, which is a pain in the butt. But anyway, I'll keep talking about that a little bit. So I have this whole hearing coming up in a couple of weeks. Which, here's what I love, so they make a whole stink about the van, and I'm a big crook. But they schedule the hearing during a weekday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm sorry, not 1 o'clock, it's like 1:40 in the afternoon. So, I've already been told that if I don't show up, they can charge me $100 a day if I don't rectify the situation. Basically, meaning moving the van. They can charge me. If I rectify the situation before then, I can notify them and I may not have to appear. Well, I'm not going to appear regardless, because I'll rectify the situation. I've actually got a storage unit, which I'll have to go into that. Now, I'm just not crazy about the whole storage situation. It's interesting, at least for me. Y'all call me crazy, but I feel like camping in a van, you almost make a connect. I don't know. I feel like I've made some sort of weird connection with the van that it's like my little mini home on wheels, and I care about its safety and security, which is another reason why I don't want to have to go store it someplace, because I know people don't respect other people's property the way that they always should. And I've toured several storage facilities in my area, and I'm sorry, they're just, none of them are any place where I would want to park the van, but I have to find someplace. And several storage facilities are completely sold out, so I had to find something, which I did. But I'll probably tour you guys around that, and I don't know. I feel like that's not gonna last long. I'm gonna have to find another one. So anyway, I'll probably leave on that note, because now I got another neighbor walking down the street, and she'll probably stare at me, wondering why the heck I'm in the van talking to my phone. But anyway, leave your comments below. This is kind of a glimpse of, you know, my latest update since I think my glamping review of the Airstream. I'm definitely behind. I would love to do this more often. That's always been my plan, to share a little more about my adventures. I think, you know, there's some unique stuff going on with me living in a neighborhood and wanting to be able to take advantage of owning the van. My arm's getting tired holding this thing. I want to take advantage of owning it, you know, and some of the struggles that come along with, you know, not living in the van full time and still trying to figure out how to manage, how to store it, and just all that crap. So anyway, like, share, subscribe. Please comment. I love comments, and I love responding back to you guys, answering any questions. But let me know, what do you think about HOA management companies regarding this situation? And you know what? It's not even the management company. I'm not going to blame them, because it's nobody on the management company driving through my neighborhood calling me out. It's one of my neighbors. Somebody reported me, because that's basically what the original letter alluded to from the management company. Management company is just trying to abide by the covenants and restrictions for my neighborhood. So someone in my neighborhood has reported me for being in violation. And the sad thing is, I almost feel like the value of what this van cost, if nobody obviously cares enough, they just want to see me remove it. But I'm like, there is a $170,000 van sitting on the driveway. It's not ugly. And I think the perception of a big old Mercedes star emblem on the front, you know, would exude expensive luxury. So is it really hurting the neighborhood any? Is it hurting my neighbors? I think it's hurting the grumpy old fart next door, with the sign in his window. But anyway, that's it for the day. And I look forward to hearing from y'all. Take care. Bye-bye.